Hi, welcome to this String King video about this about a Squier Stratocaster copy which a client brought to me this morning, and it needs some work on it because he said it had been stored in his house, which has a severe, or had a, the house he was in has a severe damp problem. If you look at the bridge of the guitar, there's some pretty bad corrosion on it as well, and also the jack socket plate. So what we're going to do is use a technique that I did another video on quite a long time ago, which is to use a reverse electro-plating process, which rather than adding material to the metal will pull material off the metal, and what it does effectively is it pulls all the oxidized metal off, so you end up with a nice clean piece of metal. So we're going to do that on the bridge, and we're also going to clean up all the electrics. We'll take the scratch plate off, have a look at these pots, get some cleaner in them and clean them up, and then I'll do a little test to see whether they're still crackly by just plugging it in essentially. I think they'll probably do that first, and also the switch, and I'll have to do a little mini setup because I'm going to have to probably disassemble this here. I don't know what I'm going to do, but to clean it properly I'll probably have to take it apart a bit, and that will change the radius and the action. So we'll do a little setup. Hugo wants the same action height. He loves this guitar, but he doesn't like things that have gone wrong with it, so we'll try and restore it to the way it is, but just make it a bit more reliable and a little nicer to look at. So next thing is to get this bridge out, and well, get the strings off, get the bridge out, detach the socket, and put this all into a bath of well, not a bath, a dish of salty water, and connect it up to an electricity supply, which sounds quite dangerous, but it isn't really. Right, so we've got this bridge finished. It's all been cleaned up, so it really looks great. It looks almost, well, if you look closely you can see some little bit of tarnishing on it, but it certainly looks a lot better. So this has got to be screwed back into the body, but at the moment I'm just cleaning up the screws by the same method, using the electrolysis, or the reverse electrolysis. So we'll just put that to one side. I've also got to do the jack socket, but what I'm going to start looking at next is the electronics inside the guitar. So basically what I'm going to do is take the screws out of the scratch plate, take the scratch plate off. I'm also going to detach the wire that goes from the switch, sorry, the volume pot. Is it the switch? Well, one or the other. It goes to this, and we're going to take that out, and I'll probably replace this with a pure tone jack socket because it's just much more reliable, only a couple of quid, but it will make an incredible difference to the reliability of the socket. So let's get these screws out. So anyway, I'm just going to check what this is working like. I mean, it's okay. I mean, probably if it's been corroded inside, it's it's going to be hard to see if you've got corrosion inside. So I've got a bit of 1000 grit paper, and you roll this up and you just put it inside the sleeve of the socket and just move it around a bit, and that should clear corrosion from inside. So I mean, if I was keeping this socket, that's what I would do, but I can actually see, I mean, I don't know if you can get this, you can see it's pretty corroded inside this socket, so it's not worth risking keeping this socket. So what we're going to do is chuck it in the bin. I'm not messing about with desoldering these because there's no real point in doing that, because we're going to chuck this socket away. So that's gone, but this also means I can now actually remove, well, I can't actually, because I've still got it connected to the claw of the tremolo. So but it gives me a bit more latitude to move it around, so I can now get around all these bits and make sure I can get some cleaner inside. So let's do that. This WD-40 fast drying contact cleaner. So what we're just going to do is squirt it inside and turn the knobs backwards and forwards. I think I've mentioned in another video, this is not technically cleaning them. What's inside of this pot is a graphite track, and there's a sort of hand, or it's called a wiper, that moves along the track, and it contacts the graphite, and over time it wears away the graphite as well. So what happens is you get the crackling, which is dirt and that's got inside, and graphite, and probably in this case corroded metal. So what we're doing with just moving the wiper backwards and forwards across this track is moving the dirt to the ends of the track where it's not interfering with the contact. It's still in there. Ideally, I would like to replace these pots with new pots, but of course that's a bit more of an expense for the client. He hasn't asked me to do that. So what I think we're going to do first of all is check how this works when I've done all this cleaning. If we've still got crackly, noisy nonsense going on, we can do that, but we don't have to do that. And the other thing I want to do is clean the switch. But what we've got to do with the switch is clean it from the other side, because this is a completely sealed box. Sometimes these switches are open, but sometimes they're not, like this one. So actually you can get in there. So I'm going to spray some gunk in there and in there, and then the same with this really. Move the switch around, cleans the contact, and then I'm going to get the soldering iron on, or out, get it on, get the soldering iron on. How would that work? Right, so we've got everything back together now. I did some reverse electro-cleaning, or whatever you want to call it, on the jack socket plate. I've taken the rust off. I've put a new pure tone socket in there. It's dead solid. Cleaned up the electrics. There's absolutely no crackling at all on these. Everything works properly. So you can see from the bridge how clean that is. So this is done as far as the electrical overhaul part is done. All I've got to do now is string this guitar up and set it up. And then it'll be ready for the client to pick up again. But that's it essentially for this video. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and it's given you some ideas. Oh, by the way, this is what's come off that bridge. 6 screws and a jack plate socket. That's the dirt that was removed by the reverse electroplating. It's quite a substantial amount of gunk. But there we go. So that's it. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please subscribe to the videos, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.